Great. I'm joined today by Ash Shaw from LightSpeed. LightSpeed recently put out a blog post with us on the Wetu blog, which actually rated as one of our highest performing blogs. So I've invited Ash to come and just give us a couple more tips and tricks based on his most frequently asked questions as it relates to WordPress and extending content from the Wetu platform onto your own websites. So Ash, welcome. Good to chat.
Thank you.
We're here at Indaba, so if it's a little noisy in the background, you know why. I'd like to start with a question that I would ask, which is, if I am a marketing person, which a large percentage of Wetu's customer base are, and a small team and a small company, and I need to really start, figuring out how to actually populate my website with my content, do I need to know code?
No code needed. No code needed. You need to do a bit of reading for sure and skill up, and we provide information for you to do that, as well as training videos.
Okay,
on how to import content, none of which needs code.
Handheld the whole way?
Well, we can handhold. Depends on whether you want us to help. Not build the site, but maybe consult or train. Right. Some advice on a direction to take, or just an hour session where we teach you the ins and outs.
So WordPress has got a reputation for being complicated. I think a lot of people get scared about it. I've certainly worked with it in the past and known it to be really, really quite flaky at times, but that was many years ago, I won't lie. I have a lot of support now with my website, with my team. But, you were saying that the way that the WordPress block structure now works is a lot simpler for people to work with, and it's kind of almost dummy proof. Is like, how dummy proof is that?
Yeah, that's a challenging question. People don't usually read documentation, and they then don't get it right. And I'd say things are simpler, definitely. The block editor for building pages is pretty simple. The site editor, which allows you to edit more than just content in a page, allows you to edit your navigation, your header, your footer, templates, things that a few years ago you couldn't do. And with every iteration of WordPress, it gets better. Okay. More user-friendly.
Okay, good. So it's not impossible. It just takes a little bit of discipline to be able to take the time to read it, teach yourself, set some time aside, and just practice a bit.
Yeah. We warn against using too many plugins. So the experience that you might have had in the past could have been because somebody put a lot of plugins in to achieve a lot of different things. Yes. And what that does is it adds inconsistent menus and interfaces into the back end, and users they're used to one thing and now they don't know how that one works. Yeah.
But you do propose a do-it-yourself kind of option as part of your offering. Yes. And so it isn't impossible, and you've got all the toolkits to make it work. So, like, if I was, usually, like, sort of pain point number one that a lot of the customers are going after is, how do I get better SEO? How do I attract, more traffic to my site? How do I get the right users on my site? Your DIY process and your toolkits are really kind of well structured. What is some of the advice that you would give around that SEO kind of and mobile optimization kind of opportunity, and what they need to be thinking about from get-go?
Well, out of the box, the Tour Operator plugin has really user-friendly mobile interfaces, so you won't have to do that. With regards to SEO, there's technical and there's content. So technically, if you use the plugin and a block theme, that is the technical side covered, more or less. Then you need to consider your content. So content pre-publication checklist is what I recommend. So in the beginning, you might not be used to all of the bits of content that you need to put in every field. So we've provided what we call a content checklist to help you gather the right content for your website. Things like your about pages, team, legal pages, form emails, form thank you pages, things like that.
Okay, so as you've kind of spoken briefly around just this content collection process and understanding like how to organize that and make sure that that's organized in order to understand sort of, you know, how you're going to optimize that SEO piece. What else does a marketing manager for a DMC, a tour operator, etc., need to consider as they're thinking about how they structure that content?
Good question. So you need to identify some cornerstone pages on your website. What that means is there will be a couple of pages, maybe 5 at max, depending on the size of the site, where many pages within your site link to. So Google gives guidelines on what's a good practice and what you should be doing, both on SEO and just general good content. So internal linking is key for SEO and some external links. Not too excessive, but also the internal links need to be hyper relevant. Then I would say that you combine that internal linking and some cornerstone pages, then Google will be very happy.
Yep.
Along with a pre-publication checklist. So you might import your content from Wetu, but you may need to still check a few things on your website, because sometimes the way that tour operators enter their content into Wetu, it doesn't come through to the website as complete as it could.
Right.
So they need to be mindful of the number of fields that they fill in for a good website itinerary.
Okay, excellent. Cornerstone pages, can you give some examples?
So, if I was to think about the About page, you'd have maybe a team sub-page that would probably link back to the About page. You could use something like, there's a block that the SEO plugin gives us, which is sibling pages.
Yep.
So you can just drop that on the main page. That interlinks all of the sub pages.
Okay.
Then those sub pages, you should consider whether it's worthwhile to link them back to that cornerstone page.
Okay.
Maybe you publish blog posts.
Okay.
And then don't make everything linked to it, but relevant content, try to make a habit of interlinking.
Okay.
With this plugin that I mentioned, Yoast SEO, it has AI for the titles and the meta, and helps you identify where to do internal linking. There's a section that's not AI, it's just, it indexes your site.
Okay.
And it makes recommendations.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Another question that I know that you have to deal with a lot and comes up a lot in dev is the challenge of having had poor experience with poor developers, and people then have maybe scrambled code or have overcomplicated code, and or 100 different other variations of what goes into a definition of bad developer. So I know people that are non-techie get really put off by having had poor experiences before. What is your advice around, working with a developer going forward? What is your approach to deal with poor work that's been done before, or having to unscramble code or fix problems? And how do you keep customers trusting you?
Well, about the bad developer experience, I've even had customers that have had 3 consecutive websites from different freelancers, more often than not. It's not often that an agency would also give bad service or quality. And that's it weakens the whole site in actual fact. Either the user flow of the site, or the back end is too complicated because the just banners and all sorts of things in the back end.
Yeah.
So you need to be very mindful of finding the right person. How do you do that?
Right.
If you trust that that is the person you want to work with, encourage that they follow the toolkit.
Right.
The toolkit may be for a DIY customer
Yeah.
to do it in-house, but if they have a freelancer and the freelancer follows the toolkit, then they will be implementing best practices.
Okay, great.
And the toolkit really hammers on best practices, and even before launch, there's a meticulous pre and post-launch checklist that makes sure that you do things like connect up analytics, for example, and connect up Google Search Console. Things that will be, in a few months post-launch, give you the information about your website to give you an indication of whether it's successful or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So if people want to go and use you as a sounding board, or check that, check that they are making the right choices and decisions with regards to how they're thinking about their website, how can they get hold of you?
Well, you can go to touroperator.solutions, which is our product site specifically for the Tour Operator plugin and also the Wetu Content Importer.
Excellent.
Alternatively, my company LightSpeed has a support email. In actual fact, the Tour Operator site also has a support email on the contact page.
Okay.
That goes into a help desk, and one of our friendly happiness engineers or support people will assist and guide you.
Okay. And then otherwise, on the bottom of your pamphlet, it's ash@tourpress.pro.
Correct.
Okay. So ash, ASH, at tourpress, all one word, .pro. So
Nice and
brilliant.
short.
Excellent. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the discussion.
Great. Thank you.